everyone. Today is our last day of Strong Female Protagonist, and we are looking at issue number 4. Today's lecture is one of the times where I really wish I could be in a room with all of you and see your faces and have a conversation about today's reading instead of me just recording myself spewing out my thoughts. But I always look forward to reading your discussion posts, but today in particular, I really am excited to hear what you think about what I have to say today. So let's get to it. Allison has been preoccupied, trying to figure out how to really help people in a meaningful, permanent way. The opening scene of this issue names several problems and pathways to saving the world. Climate change, money, information overload, education. There are just too many problems, too many fires to put out. How do you know where to start? Then Allison returns home to learn that her father has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. When she finds out, you can see it looks like she's about to give in to crying, but instead she goes into save the day mode and offers to do commercials, drop out of school and help around the house, things like that. But her father assures her that he wants her to continue living a normal life. This issue is a pause from global conflicts or conflicts with villains. It is only about the interpersonal. And resolving interpersonal conflicts isn't nearly as exciting as magical beheadings or mythic wars or samurai revenge plots. But again, if we're talking about the real world, then these small, boring conflicts between individuals are also important. Do you believe that these one-on-one conversations or personal arguments can factor into the larger scheme of saving the world? Especially considering how big the problems mentioned in the first part of this issue sound. I think about how it was only 5 years ago that we achieved marriage equality in the United States for same-sex couples. In the years leading up to that decision, homophobia and just blatant hatred of gay people was so visible that it genuinely surprises me today how normal and acceptable homosexuality is right now. Sure, there is still a lot of work to be done, there are still strides to be made, but the change has been really dramatic. And one of the reasons that I keep hearing about why people's minds have changed is that people who were homophobic came to find out that they actually had long-term friends or even family members who were gay. It was that interpersonal relationship that changed their minds. And we see a similar thing happen between Allison and her sister Jennifer. Again, sisters fighting is not the stuff superhero comics are made of. Jennifer reveals she is wearing a shirt with a political slogan, "Am I Still Special?" Apparently, in this world, there are hate groups forming against people with biodynamic anomalies, like the group that tried to kill Farrell last issue. I really appreciate that the authors included this detail because I think it's very realistic and mirrors our own political climate today. And the conversation they have, I think, mirrors the kind of conversations we could be having in real life. Jennifer seems to feel insecure about her own worth and abilities when standing next to America's superhero, the indestructible Mega Girl. And that's understandable. But this group she seems to be part of has organized themselves around that insecurity and made it their defining feature. They, too, want to be special. So they take it upon themselves to hunt and kill people with biodynamic powers. Not people like Allison, she's too strong. Instead, they take out biodynamic people with little to no superpowers. People who can maybe hold their breath an extra 5 minutes underwater, or their hair can change color on command. Things that aren't actually threatening to anyone. Now, if they went after Cleaver or something, I could understand that. But they aren't anti-supervillain. They're just anti-people who have this particular genetic mutation. You would think the conversation would be Allison defending biodynamic people and Jennifer bashing biodynamic people. But that's not how it goes. Allison sidesteps the expected "I'm right, you're wrong" blueprint and says that biodynamic people aren't special at all. Nobody is special. So there's no point in dividing ourselves as biodynamic or chromosomally stable anyway, because we all kind of suck and don't know what we're doing. She says, The people that worship superheroes or the people that hate us, they're both making it about us. And we're going to let you down because we really don't know what's going on more than regular people. And we can't really do that much more than regular people. And what's the proof that Allison is in fact not super or special? She can't save Dad. There's no point in Allison and Jennifer fighting about genetic mutations when their dad is dying. There are things more important than these divisions, and that is what brings them together. Neither of them know how to handle their father's cancer, but they can help each other deal with it. Megagirl can't save the day, but she can be there for her little sister. And that's literally the most she can do in this situation. We also get a lot of flashbacks to Allison's childhood and upbringing in this issue. You may or may not have discovered that there are hidden messages in the webcomic, notes from the authors. If you hover over a page with your mouse, a little box pops up. I particularly like this one from this issue. One of the authors says, "I think it's fascinating that so many fictional heroes are orphans. I know it has deep, profound mythological roots that are significant on a Jungian level. But sometimes the choice to make a character an orphan is because the writer is uninterested in dealing with the main character's family, or finds family an impediment to their main character's identity. Not exactly intellectual laziness, but also not a purely aesthetic choice. It's like the creators of Batman killed off his parents so we could skip straight to the ass-kicking, the fun parts. Family drama is far, far less entertaining, but may lead to better-formed characters, and thus can be more informative." Here's another secret message. An adult human being is the most fearsome, terrifying, and powerful animal on the planet, and parenting is the act of creating an adult human being. When you put it that way, it sounds like parents have a terrifying job, and so parents are perhaps the real heroes. Last issue, Cleaver mentioned that if Allison's parents hadn't raised her to be such a good little girl, the world would be fucked. This issue, we find out that her father is a social worker and her mother is a teacher. These are kind of the perfect parents to raise a superhero, don't you think? There are a lot of parenting moments in this issue we could look at to explore how parents are heroes and how parents can shape future heroes. But let's just look at one in particular. Allison signs up for after-school soccer in order to hang out with the cool girls. During a tie game nearing its end, Allison chews out another girl for missing a pass and skipping 2 practices in a row. At this moment, she's actually trying to be a kind of hero from her childish perspective. She's trying to save the game, but really she's just being a bully, and even though the game is still going on, her mom pulls her aside for a talking to. Now, this is before Allison got her superpowers, but even still, her mom notes, "You are very smart. You have a lot of talents and skills that other people don't have." But still, being better at things does not make her better than other people. Alright, some people win the natal lottery and they're born with natural talent or into a rich family or whatever. But what about how hard Allison has worked? One of our cultural values in the United States is that of meritocracy, the idea that people should be rewarded for the effort and the work that they put in. They're merits. If you work hard and follow the rules, you will get the rewards you deserve. And even if we logically know that there are exceptions to this, there's a large cultural understanding that those exceptions are rare. And Allison falls back on the logic of meritocracy in her argument with her mom. "I come to all the practices, I work extra hard, I actually watch the videos that coach asks us to watch. So Allison deserves being better than others because she worked for it, right?" "Wrong," her mom says. "A person's worth is never determined by their abilities." On the surface, this sounds like a really easy life lesson from kindergarten, something along the lines of, everyone is special in their own way. But in real life, and especially in the adult world, is it really all that easy to follow this lesson in the day-to-day? How much do you really believe in equality? If we say we believe in equality, all while society has vast inequality, whether in the form of superpowers or homelessness, how do we put our belief in equality to practice? Now, yes, we should do our best to fight homelessness, give to charities, volunteer, vote for politicians who will do the right thing. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's social equality, and that is a very, very important thing. But there is a bigger, grander concept of equality that I think Allison and the authors are pursuing here, and it's born out of an internal process. Empathy. Allison's mom tells her, "Consider that your teammates may be trying harder than you and accomplishing less. How do you think that would feel?" So my question for you is, how well can you empathize with the people, quote unquote, below you? Can you empathize with a homeless person enough to imagine yourself as homeless? Feel the feelings of sleeping on the street, not knowing when you'll get to eat next. The imagination this empathy requires can actually be very complicated, but it's the key to true inner belief in equality. This is the voice that Allison listens to that stops her from killing people, most of the time. And it's why we read stories. At Allison's college in the real world, the New School, researchers have found evidence that reading fiction improves a reader's capacity to understand what others are thinking and feeling. It increases your imagination so that you can imagine other people's perspectives, different from your own. And with all of these different perspectives at your disposal, you can empathize with people even very different from yourself. This book has been far more touchy-feely and emotional and goopy than a lot of the other hero narratives that we've read. A lot of times we think of heroes as someone who takes action. They have cool weapons or noble blood, or they have superpowers and abilities. But what about the ability of empathy? How necessary is it for heroes to have that ability? And that's it for Strong Female Protagonist. I'm sorry that we don't get to read it all the way to its conclusion, but it is a long-running comic book. If you would like to read more, I encourage you to keep reading on the website. It does get better as it goes on. Next time we'll be starting Emergency Sex and Other Desperate Measures. This is a memoir of 3 people who worked for humanitarian efforts by the United Nations across the world in the 1990s. So we are moving backwards in time a little bit. It's written in journal-style entries, so it's kind of like switching back and forth between 3 different stories. Now, these aren't journals that they actually kept in the moment. All of this was written afterwards. This is just the method of storytelling that they chose. So I wanted to reduce the amount of reading for us. So on Thursday, we're going to be reading the first 3 chapters, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, but it's just going to be little bits and pieces of each. In Chapter 1, Condition Alpha, I want you to read all of it. Chapter 2, Bravo, we're only going to read the very first journal entry titled Heidi, Phnom Penh. In my edition of the book, that's pages 28 to 31. Then we're going to skip to Chapter 3, Charlie, and I want you to read just the August section. That's pages 101 to 118 if you have my edition. Skip July and stop right before September. Of course, you are more than welcome to read all of the parts that we skipped. It's just that these are the parts that I'm going to expect and require you to read. Also, keep in mind these are stories written from war zones, so the descriptions can get a little graphic sometimes. For discussion boards, we're doing another journal entry reflecting on the text of Strong Female Protagonist, but I want you to focus on 2 particular things. First, I'd like you to consider, how does this text help us as a transition stage moving into talking about the real world? And also, what questions does this text leave you with now that we've finished the first 4 issues? Your responses for participation points can try to answer these questions or pose further questions of your own. I just want to see people talking on the discussion boards about this topic. Also, if you want to do the extra credit, that's due on April 24th, so this coming Friday. For more information, you can look under the Assignments tab on Canvas and look for Extra Credit Essay. Until next time, stay well, everyone.